Hello, it is DM Shift, and time for episode 2 of our new podcast. So, what we're going to talk about today is our goals for 2025. I think it's pretty simple, and let's just get started right away. First, one of my goals is to write and self-publish 3 short story collections. I had great ideas, I think, for themes for short story collections last year. I had some short stories that fit into these 3 categories already, as well as I came up with a few more ideas to fill it out, and I'm sure I'll come up with more ideas, and then I can cut some, add some, see where they go throughout the year. Some of these short stories were things that I've written 10 years ago, up to things that I'd written a couple years ago, and like I said, brand new ideas to fit into the theme. Some of them are already completely edited and ready to go. Some of them are just ideas. We've got a lot of stuff to work on for these 3 collections, and so hopefully throughout the year these will start coming out. I do have an idea of which one I want to do first, not only because it's one of the most completed stories already, but because it's the one with the most exciting new ideas. One of them I'm really excited about is a Christmas-themed story collection. So that one will come out last, obviously, but I'm excited for it. And so that's the goal. It's pretty simple. Finish these short story collections. I don't know how long they're going to be. I have ideas. I've got story lists. But, if I finish the stories and I don't like them, I will cut them. The goal is to maybe have between, 6 to 12 different stories, depending on their length. And we'll just see how it goes. In theory, I want these to come out in, let's say, April for my birthday. And then whatever the 8th month is that August? I don't know. And then finally, maybe the beginning of December or the end of November, somewhere around there. Of course, these are pretty loose dates. We'll see how it goes. As for other writing goals, I would also really like to get my current work in progress, my current novel I'm working on, to be ready to go. Now, there are big problems with this. I have been working on this novel for years now. Years and years. I have, I think, 2 full drafts, and then I'm working on a 3rd draft. Now, the problem is, I changed a bunch of viewpoints. So originally, it was 3rd person, but for multiple viewpoints. And then I forget what I did with the 2nd full draft I have. And then the 3rd one I'm working on now, which is about a 1/3 done, I decided to go with a singular viewpoint. And I'm having so much trouble with it. It's not working very well. So I am thinking that I might need to start over again and change the viewpoints again. I can't. Originally, I really liked having the multiple viewpoints, but it was something that I was struggling with in terms of skill as a writer. I was having trouble balancing everything, particularly making sure that the different viewpoints felt different and there was a reason to be having different viewpoints besides having secret information from characters. I wanted them to feel like the characters were having some sort of effect over the different story that we were getting, right? Like the characterization of these viewpoints was bad. I could not figure it out. I could not do it. And so I've done some quote unquote research throughout the year of 2024, and I would like to maybe I can go back and write this from different viewpoints again. I don't know. There's a lot of troubles with it. Maybe I'll just power through this version and see how it comes out. But because we're in the middle of something. We always have trouble with it, right? We always hate things when we're in the middle of it. Maybe not all of us, but a lot of us, right? The middle's tough. We hate the middle. We struggle to get through the middle. But let's see. Let's keep trying to plow through for now, because I don't know if starting over is best. Again, it would be the 4th time I've started over, the 3rd time I've started over. I don't know how numbers work. My goal for this novel is I want it to be somewhere polished enough that I can start trying to shop it around to try and get it published. I don't think it will get published that fast, right? Obviously it won't. It takes a long time. I think I read it can take 2 years for a book to come out once it's been accepted. Once people like, yes, we want to do this, all the editing and everything can take up to 2 years. I think I said 18 months to 2 years is a common number. I don't actually know. I haven't put that much work into figuring out how getting published works yet, because I want to have something that I think is worth getting published before I really dive into that. So I've done a little bit of research here and there. By the time I feel like this could be ready, it could completely change how to do it. So I don't spend too much time looking into it, just a little bit here and there to make sure that I'm on a decent track. By June, July-ish, I want it to be somewhere good enough. I want to be happy enough with the story that I can start trying to get it published. I don't know if that's going to be possible. That's a long way off, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. The good news is, if they don't like something and they want it rewritten, I've got multiple versions of the stories, so we can go back and find something to fix it somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, so that's the really big goal, I think, for the year, is to get this novel somewhere where it feels good enough. Now, I did have another idea for, would it be a novel? Would it be novella length? I don't know. But I had an idea for something that recently cropped up, and I'm really excited about it. But I don't know if that means that I should do it, because I am in that part of novel writing with my current work in progress where I just hate it because I hate it. I'm in the middle of it. It sucks. It's so hard. And so should I actually work on this other idea that would be easier? It would be easier from a certain point of view, and it would be good at improving some of those skills that I feel like I'm lacking for this current novel, right? Like the focus of the story that I had the other day is something that I feel like I struggle with. So I'd have to work really hard to improve that to write this story, which in the end could help the problems with this story so the problem that the story I'm writing now, I'm super passionate about. I really love it. I've been working on it for a long time. I just feel like my skill level is not good enough. And so if I worked on a smaller scale project that was helping me fix what I feel are deficiencies for this story, would I be able to finish this story? Should I work on this instead? It's hard. It's hard to know what to do. But I don't know. The goal still is to get this somewhere about halfway through the year that I think I can start publishing it and then start working on publishing it. I think that would be a great thing to start doing. I don't think it'll get published. I don't even think it'll get picked up this year. But to start working towards that goal halfway through the middle of the year, being able to start shipping it out, I think that's where I want to be. And finally, my big goal is to read 25 books this year. Now, this is a small step down, or a large step down. It's a much smaller number than last year. Last year, I read 110 books, I think is what the final number was. So last year I did 110-ish books for a very specific reason. I was having a lot of trouble with a few things, like characterization. So I wanted to see how other authors did characterization. So I wanted to do extensive reading so I could see how a lot of people handled a lot of different characters really quickly. So I wanted to really get out there and explore techniques that other people used. And so to do that the best way, you read as much as you can as quickly as you can, right? I didn't go too deeply into anything because I wanted a large overview. I didn't want to dig too deeply. I didn't want to look at one person's technique and see how they did it. I wanted to see how everyone was doing it so I could influence my own writing in a broad way, right? Like I don't want to be out here aping anyone else's specific style. I wanted to get an idea of how, generally speaking, people did this kind of thing. And so I did my best to do that. Another thing I wanted to look at in the large overview of things was show, don't tell. Now, this is a thing that we all hear. And, when you're in 101 writing, that's kind of the rule, right? Show, don't tell. However, I feel like once you get past 101 writing, it's not show, don't tell. It's when do you show and when do you tell? Because showing puts emphasis on something, right? And sometimes you just want to breeze through something. Sometimes you just want to know that someone's mad. You don't need to see how they're mad. You don't need to show that someone's... Again, depends on the situation, right? Every situation is different. And sometimes you just need to get it done. You don't need to go into a 5-page backlog of somebody's freaking backstory. You can just say it. Right? It really depends on the situation and what it calls for. And so that is one thing I wanted to focus on because, like a new and aspiring author, I struggle with show, don't tell, or again, when to show, when to tell. And so I wanted to go through and see when authors who were published, highly loved, highly praised, when do they show and when do they tell? What is it that makes these different situations needed to be shown and needed to be told? And again, I wanted to broadly see how this was done, so I read very extensively, as much as I can throughout the year. And so these are the two big things that I wanted to look at: people's characterization and people's how they show and tell. And so, I feel like I'm pretty good at world building and stuff like that. And so those are the two things that I wanted to look at the most last year from a broad sense. And this year, I want to look at things closely. I want to look at people's techniques, people's specific techniques. I'm going to try and find my own style by digging in and breaking apart other people's styles this year. So now that I have a better understanding of how all people kind of do things, not all people, of course, it was still a selection of books I was mostly interested in. Now that I better understand how people do showing and telling, I want to study people's things intensely. I want to do close readings of books, and I want to break them down. And so the number is much, much smaller, 25. Now, 25 is still a big number. I am planning to close read maybe 1 to 2 books a month, or if there's a trilogy, maybe do a trilogy. And this is going to take multiple reads, right? And so I could be reading one book multiple times for a month because I'm doing close readings. I'm breaking down their style. I'm breaking down the tools that they use as an author. How am I going to get to 25 if I'm only reading one book a month? Well, because I'm also going to be reading things for fun on top of the things that I'm close reading, right? Because I don't want to just study things. I don't want this just to be an academic pursuit. I still want to enjoy reading. So I'll have some books that I'm reading for fun and some books that I'm breaking down, reading and rereading. And so while I'm doing close readings, I will still have fun readings, and I will also be reading comic books. So one of the things that I like to do when I go to bed is I don't tend to like to read a lot of heavy prose. I can sometimes, but if I'm falling asleep during something like that, it's a lot harder to go back and catch up the next day, right? For me, at least. And so I like to read comic books when I'm going to bed. And so I will get through comic books laying in bed, reading those. And so that's basically it. The goal this year is to read a lot less books. I want to read, again, 25 because we're going to be doing books for fun and books for study. But the main focus of the year will be the studying. We will be breaking down books. We will be looking at, again, specifically characterization, and we will be looking at how they handle showing versus telling. Now, this might not be something that I talk about in my book reviews in the future, but it also might be. This is for me. How am I going to be approaching books as someone who's trying to learn how to write books by looking at other people's writing? I am going to be looking to do close readings on showing and telling and characterization. That is the goal. 25 books, about 12 of which are very, very close reads. And then anything fun on top of that. So if you have any suggestions on books that you think are really good at characterization or really good at showing versus telling, please let me know. Those are my focuses. Again, if you've got another book on something else that you think is interesting, perhaps this world building, again, I think I'm okay at world building. It's not something that I want to focus on right now. I think I'm pretty good at it. But if for some reason you've got a book that I need to read it because the world building is so good, please let me know that as well. Well, I do want to focus on showing, telling, and characterization. There is always something to learn in these other things, right? Like there's really good ways that you can world build through characterization. Showing how people interact with their world can do both world building and characterization. They're not completely separate things. But my focus is going to be on characterization. But that's going to be that for now. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and don't forget to do everything that you can, liking, sharing, subscribing, following, whatever it is on the social media or podcast platform that you're on listening to this. And hopefully I will see you again soon because I'm having a lot of fun. I'm batch recording a bunch of these right now, and it is a great time. It has felt so good to be back behind a microphone. Like I said in my first one, I have done this before for other topics, and it was always really fun. I really enjoyed talking about things that I was interested in. And so having an outlet to do that is always really nice. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing me to do this, and I'll see you later. Bye.